Hi. Welcome back to the crossroads. It's been a little minute. But here I am. I'm going to jump right into it. I felt like I wanted to pull from my African Gods Oracle deck. I know it's backwards, but it's fine. Beautiful illustrations. Really, really pretty. I'll show you one of the cards. They've got like maybe 3, 4 moon cards, and this is one of them. And then I'll show you a more colorful one. And then there's this one. They're so pretty. They're so nice to look at. Like literally just to set them out and meditate on them. And sometimes I'll leave one out like overnight and put it next to on my nightstand and just kind of prop it up that. And then that way, like as I'm falling asleep, I'll be looking at it. And then when I wake up, it's one of the first things that I see. But it is a deck with teeth, and I've talked about it very briefly before. But this deck bites. It bites. It's got a big personality. It does not comfort, and it doesn't collude with your self-image, whatever self-image it is that you think that you have, or it doesn't easily agree with you. And what I mean by that is not like it disagrees with you like bad food. I'm just saying it doesn't automatically agree with you. Like it doesn't go, yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, hun. Yes, absolutely. Maybe like a star seed oracle deck, or something softer. Mm-mm. Um, Great writing. I appreciate it. But it is a little harsh. And I realize that I have to take my time. Um, I really need to be careful when I approach this deck. I have to go slow, and I have to be confident in my ability to translate some of the messages for myself, specifically for myself, for my psyche, for my specific nervous system, with somebody with my particular history. Because there was a card that I pulled today, and I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it out loud for you. Maybe not everyone will agree, but I'm just putting out there what I felt. And so what I started doing when I pull certain cards, doesn't matter from which deck, is that I slow down. I try to stay in my body, and I try to pinpoint first, how did it make me feel physically? What physiologically changed in my body when I pulled this card? Not what do I think logically, what did it make me want to do? And if the first thing that I can come up with was it made me want to flip a table, to throw a chair across the room, then that's what I work with. That's what I'm starting with. Okay. So it made me want to flip a table. Okay. Very human. Um, and I try not to shame myself anymore because of that. And I remember giving uh, reading for someone, and I was actually using one of my gentlest decks. It's the Wisdom of the Oracle. I'm going to pull it out for you. And speaking of which, I actually had a sort of an inkling today that I wanted to use this one soon. Also very pretty. It's about, what's it say? 52 cards. I was using this one, and the person that I was reading for obviously they don't have a relationship with my decks. I know my decks well enough, so she seemed like kind of scared about it, like as I was pulling the cards. And she was like, I'm really scared. She's like, I'm nervous. Like, what if it, like, what if I feel like I'm gonna get scolded, or like it's gonna tell me something scary, or like too, I don't know. She was just worried that she like was gonna feel like the message was telling her that she was doing life wrong. And I was like, oh, well, that tracks. It's a very human feeling. And no, I'm like, you don't have to feel like that, because I don't even, that's not the way that I deliver messages. I try to deliver uncomfortable truths in a responsible way. Um, Again, it's always going to feel uncomfortable, but I try to do it in a way where I'm mindful of who I'm talking to, like who's in front of me. Like I can't act surprised or or pretend to be blind, you know. So I'm careful. You know, there's definitely a way to be careful without coddling somebody or without immediately soothing them or stroking their ego or telling them immediately everything's going to be okay. There's a way to do it. Kind of like wielding a machete or a scalpel or anything sharp. Like you can swing aimlessly or you can be precise with it and surgical, like a surgeon. You know what I mean? Like a surgeon isn't just going to start slicing away aimlessly or just slitting throats. You know, they're going to be precise, and it's or like stitching a wound. You know, it's probably still going to hurt. It's going to be uncomfortable, but there's a way to treat the patient. And so the card that I pulled was number 28. The Orisha was Oshumare, or Ika, or Iyewa. And the key words, and this is where it got me. Okay. The key, there's children playing outside. I don't know if you heard that. Um, so the key words, stay with me. Dramatic personality has a tendency to over exaggerate situations, lives on an emotional roller coaster, impulsive, takes everything to the extreme, has difficulty trusting others, carries trauma due to physical and sexual violence or abuse. Those were just the key words. That made me, first, it made me feel very guilty, and then angry, and then sad, and then guilty again. And it was just this sort of swirling loop of like anger, guilt, sadness, confusion. Because look at the way that those words are stacked. The phrases are stacked on top of each other. It's dramatic, over exaggerating, lives on an emotional roller coaster, impulsive, takes everything to the extreme, difficulty trusting others. Like, and then the last thing is carries trauma due to that kind of violence after exposure to that type of abuse. And I'm like, well, no shit. And because I felt that it was that harsh, and I felt it like with my whole body. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like the way that this was. I'm not against the message, because the message itself is to avoid reality only makes you face the same issues again and again. Perfect. That's an uncomfortable truth. That I can sit with. I can meditate on that. But then you hit me with dramatic, impulsive. Well, impulsive is fine, because impulsive is not really an insult, so I understand that. But like over exaggerating everything to the extreme, like, yeah, yeah, that's that is expected of somebody who's been through that kind of abuse. Uh, like, yeah, what to the fuck else did you expect? And then so it, I took my notes, and I wrote a few phrases down. Collapse of nuance. So it just sort of blended everything together. Dramatic personality, emotional roller coaster. Like I said, I'm not going to repeat it again, but so that felt really loaded to me, like psychologically, like boom, 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 like one thing after the other. And I'm like, damn, like I mean, it didn't have to be, you didn't have to say it like that. And remember, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So I don't think the problem that was is that it felt just harsh. It's that it framed trauma responses like character flaws almost. Like, I felt defective. And then I felt like I was kind of in a trap in a way, because the activation that I felt in my body made me feel like, see, I'm proving the card right. See, I'm overly emotional. This message probably isn't even, it's not even that deep, but look what my body went and did. So I'm exaggerating. And it's like, I can't help at the moment what my nervous system automatically does when it's bombarded with that many trigger words at once. And then at the very end, because you've been abused physically, sexually, like, make me want to throw something across the room. Um, and so I was like, this is a little tricky. This is dangerous, and it's a little sloppy. Um, Again, I'm not coming for the author. I just I feel like some spiritualists, they're not um, informed or trained very well, um, in terms of how to approach somebody or address someone with trauma. It's not that maybe they don't understand that that kind of abuse is, maybe like on an intellectual level, they're like, this kind of abuse, bad. Yes, it's no good. This harms human beings. But they don't really take into account the impact that that kind of language can have on somebody, and that it could really cause someone to spiral even harder or blame themselves. So it felt really flat to me, and even a bit accusatory and pathologizing in its language, even if it didn't mean to be, you know. And again, I'd rather examine it this way than just stay stuck in my head and be like, it's my fault, because I knew better. I was like, okay, I know what I'm feeling, but I know that whatever is being talked about here, however it's being presented, I'm not doing anything wrong at the moment by noticing simply how it made me flare up in the body. And that's the thing, a lot of trauma survivors, and I guess I'm speaking from experience, we already fear and feel that we're difficult or irrational, or that we're like dramatic and exhausting. And a lot of the times we've already been attacked with that kind of wording, especially by people that we were bonded or attached to, whether it was healthy or not. Um, so the wording, I feel it accidentally reinforces that tendency to shame or blame yourself first. And I I knew that I shouldn't stop at that interpretation alone. And I don't know, I just feel called to talk about this, and maybe just let other people know that if ever you felt triggered by a certain card, it wasn't your fault for simply noticing the activation inside of you. It's your job to point it out, and then to go really slow after that, because sometimes these decks are not intended to, they're not designed, sorry, to fill in the blanks for you, or to offer you the compassion that you eventually will have to give to yourself and cultivate for yourself. Um, so yeah, I wanted to throw a chair across the room for sure. After initially reading that, it was very destabilizing. Yes. Um, like I said, I sat with it, and I don't know. I feel like just be careful when you're noticing unprocessed pain, or pain that you haven't finished processing yet. Like maybe you're in the midst of it, and then you think you're good, or you think you're healing, whatever healing means to you, and then you read something like that, and then you feel like you've been knocked back like 15 paces, or you're like soaring back in time, and you're like, see, now I'm right back in it. I guess I didn't progress. I haven't, you know, all the work has been undone. And that's like, that's not true. So don't be that hard on yourself. Um, when you have a brain that um, was trained from a tender age to remain hypervigilant and pattern seeking, the type of survival pattern seeking and thinking, um, reality starts to bend for you a little bit. It Certain messages, they take on us sort of a scarier, a heavier shape, and that's okay, because it's real and it matters. And if something hurts, if at the very least slow down. I received that message. Um, a few months back from one of my deities. They said if something hurts, tend to it. It, it deserves to feel better. Even if you can't immediately soothe it or make the pain go away, at the very least, when you are in pain or when you notice that something hurts, slow down and address it immediately. At the very least, just stop what you're doing and go, "Ow, that hurts," or "Ow, my finger hurts." Like if you're writing, and you get a cramp, you stop and you look at it and you go, "Ow, my hand is cramping," and you put the pen down. At the very least, even if you can't immediately help with what's happening, and then after that, you might start to like massage your hand a little bit and stretch it out. You breathe and you take your time. You pace yourself. And I feel like that's what we have to do sometimes, especially as um, trauma survivors, when you're that sensitive or empathic and you're reading cards for yourself. And because sometimes that can be scary, you know. And but I think that when you notice that something is scary, it's smart to point it out and to sit with it. And every so often we're going to encounter a message like that makes us feel cornered. It's going to make you feel like you're being mocked a little bit, um, or like there's something morally off about you. Again, none of those things are wrong. um, a million and one things are going to swim inside of your head, and you're going to want to dive deep into that pool of words, and then you're gonna sometimes your brain does this thing where then it starts kind of adding on to that stack of words, and you start coming up with more synonyms that mean like you're dramatic, you're exaggerating, like you those words don't come neutral, they come heavy, they come with a history, and you start kind of arguing with ghosts. And sometimes it's necessary to argue with the ghosts, but not for like 3 business days. Um, so I think that certain practitioners got to be really, really careful with their form of expression when they are bringing up anything that is trauma related. You really don't want to contribute to somebody's mental pain or their static, because people like us usually we feel it up here and then we feel it with the whole body, and you don't want to be part of the reason why somebody needs to heal harder, from a certain message or a certain reading that they received. Because again, I'm not asking for coddling, I wasn't asking for avoidance, and I wasn't asking for anyone to deny anything, because like I said, and I'll read it one more time, that message alone was perfect, and I like reading that one over. To avoid reality only makes you face the same issues again and again. That alone, reading that, made me feel normal, I guess, activation. I felt responsible, and I felt a little guilty, and I felt anxious. And I think those things kind of travel together naturally when you think about the word responsibility. You do feel kind of anxious, and I think that happens to people who care. And I think when you think about responsibility, you feel kind of anxious because you start overestimating what you're even meant to carry. And that's probably something that we've done for a long time, is not knowing how to put certain things down, and we just sort of absorb everything because we weren't taught how to protect ourselves. We weren't taught boundaries. We weren't taught discernment early on. So we just sort of let everything stick to the body and then sit in there. And we don't have room for all that. We can try, but it's boy, are you gonna. That's one of the quickest ways to become fragmented, is to try to have room for everyone's everything. And even when certain things did belong to you, we already know at some point we gotta put certain things to rest. Not bury it, but put it to rest. There's a difference. Um, and so I wanted to play around with some of the phrases. So I came up. So instead of dramatic personality that over exaggerates, we could try something like, you have a nervous system shaped by chronic instability, and you're someone who might become highly reactive to perceived danger, right? Especially when trust and safety have been repeatedly violated. And I think that hits a little different emotionally for the reader, again, as opposed to, you're an emotional roller coaster. Because it hits, but it's the type of hit that doesn't. It's the type of hit that bruises, and it's not the type of hit that inspires or yeah, inspires self compassion. I think one phrase creates that shame collapse feeling in the chest and in the stomach. Kind of makes you want to close in on yourself. And then the other one creates possibility for reflection. Again, it helps you slow down. Certain language regulates, and then there's some language that actively speeds you up, and it makes this thing go. And that's why I think it's important to redefine um, some of these oracle messages for ourselves. And again, try really hard to not sugarcoat for yourself, or again, to stroke the ego. Keep it honest. Keep it at a level where it's still uncomfortable for you, but you go, okay, that I can tolerate. And I think you kind of know, or you can kind of start to figure out where your threshold is at. Like that message, like the one that I read to you twice, that I can handle. It still makes me a little itchy, but it I can slow myself down enough when I read it. I feel I feel like after I let the initial panic move through my body, I can open up again. So, is that all my notes? Yeah, I don't know. Just, you know what kind of language sounds like a little too broad and reckless for your taste. That for me did it. I was like, no. See what we're not going to do is talk about trauma like in that. It didn't even feel dismissive. It just felt like, again, a truth that was delivered without care. if that makes sense. So I feel like I should pull a card from like a sweeter deck now, just to. That was a lot. That was a lot to talk about. And I feel like I should end it with something gentle. So I don't know. I'm gonna see. Okay, I think I'll use the wisdom of the oracle deck. So I'm gonna shuffle real quick. I'm gonna leave us with something pretty. This one is loyal heart. It's a 3 and a 5, 35. So it's a number 8 card. And then I'm gonna read it for you. I really like loyal heart. Let me show it one more time. I think there's a couple of keys. And it looks like the heart is splitting open, not broken, but like opening up. I don't know, it's interesting. Yeah. So I'll do just the oracle message. So essential meanings: fidelity, loyalty, devotion. And I feel like that's talking about being loyal to your own heart. This isn't like a lover's type of message or reading. So evidence of loyalty will appear in your life. Others will prove they are faithful to you, and you will in turn commit fully to them. There is a sure and abiding certainty in your heart. Know that spirit is always loyal to you, no matter the outer circumstances in your life. Trust and have faith that you are eternally loved, always divinely protected, and divinely directed. And then I think I'll do the protection message. Are you stubborn or overly tenacious about an idea? Or have you become so attached to something that you just don't know how to let it go? Could it be that it's become so much a part of you that you wouldn't know who you are without it? So now is the time to look at outdated beliefs, old ideas, and misplaced loyalties. Betrayal is only a signal that it is time to prune away all who don't deserve your trust and have no place in your life. And it's not just people, it's thoughts as well. So be new, think new, act brand new, and open your heart to new things. Let go of the old and all your attachments. Spirit has awesome plans for you. So make some room. I like that one. See, that one is honest, but it's also gentle. It kind of holds you throughout kind of holds your hand a little bit through the whole message. It like constantly lets you know, hey, you know what? You're not alone in this. You are protected. You're loved, always divinely directed, divinely guided. And so, and I wanted to add this for some reason. You know how they say that before you read the Bible, always ask God and your angels for clarity, right? Like, God help me. Like, if I don't understand anything, let it be revealed to me at some point. during or after the reading, or let help me make it make sense, or at least be there with me when I'm confused or scared or whatever. Do the same thing before you read cards for yourself, especially the decks that got teeth, like this African gods one. If you know that it's a deck that helps you confront yourself, but it's got certain language that might jar you a little bit, just be like, hey, I'm gonna repeat this because I had a dream about this. Um, there was this old ancestor, and she looked at me, and she literally said the words, "Be your body the compass, and your mind the gentle translator," because the mind is the ego. And ego isn't necessarily bad. We need ego. We need logic. We need both. I'm going to repeat that one more time. That's my prayer is be your body the compass. And this thing is harsh sometimes. Like I said, when I read that message, I was like, I'm about to throw a chair across the room. So the body doesn't always deliver. It can be ugly. It's not always gentle. It's not neat. It's messy. It's violent. It's very primal. It's raw. It's fucking raw. But then your mind, the gentle translator. I'm gonna leave that there. Do with that what you will. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. And if you're rocking with what I'm saying and you want to follow me a little farther down the crossroads, I got all the yummy links down in the description box. Got my Substack where I write essays about neuroscience and sex and trauma informed stuff and somatic healing, poetry, short stories, all that. And I also offer free dream readings on my Instagram and my Twitter as well. If ever you have any feelings that have chased you out of your sleep and you need somewhere to let those land, you can always hit me up. Or if you're just curious to see how it works or how I interpret, it's fine too. If you just want to chat. And if you feel called to support, I will also throw in my buy me a coffee. And I think that's all I got. Like, share, subscribe, or just hang out quietly. But until next time, stay blessed, stay well, stay healthy, stay tuned, stay safe, and stay weird. But stay your kind of weird because it's freaky out there, and that's not your good kind of freaky. So, I will see you at the crossroads. Okay, bye.